If you want to pimp up your video conferencing skills and go from Zoom to boom and from teams to wins, this video series is for you. Let me show you just a few examples of what you can do to enhance your video conferencing meetings and stand out to better engage your audience. It's cool, isn't it? What if you could apply these effects immediately and for free? With the tips I'll share with you, you'll be able to stand out and create a wow effect that will get your audience undivided attention. So how can you achieve all those cool effects? The answer is with a free software that's called OBS Studio. OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software. It's a great software that is used for live streaming and video recording. I know you're not a professional streamer and you don't want to go too much into the technical details. And maybe you're worried that OBS is too complex and requires a too steep learning curve. Here's my promise. In 10 minutes from now, you'll be able to get familiar with OBS and learn everything you need to start implementing cool effects to enhance your video conferencing skills already from your next meeting. I'm so happy and proud of you that you've decided to take this step and enhance your video conferencing skills. Don't worry, I will keep it short, easy, and essential to the features that we need for video calls. I suggest you do the installation with me. Pause at the end of each step and put in practice what you've learned. So let's dive into it and start with download and installation. You can Google for OBS Studio or just go to obsproject.com. You choose your operating system, in my case it's Windows, and then download installer. You then click on the installer file and here we are. You'll be given three options: optimize for streaming, optimize for video recording, or just use the virtual webcam. As you may want to use OBS in the future also for video recording, just click the second option. Bear in mind that you will always be able to change it afterwards. Here we are with the OBS interface. I know it's a little gray, but trust me, you'll learn to love it. Let's start from the top. You have the usual menus like File, Edit, View, Profile, Scene Collection, Tools and Help. The good news is that we don't need that. The most predominant thing you see in here is this big black rectangle. So why is it black? Well, because we haven't included any content yet, but this will be the window hosting your visual content. This is what we will be collecting from OBS, taking it out and sending it to Zoom, Teams, or your preferred video conferencing platform. We can resize the window so we can see the lower tabs a little bit better. The most important things that we need to know and that we will be looking at are scenes, sources, audio mixer, scene transitions, and this series of additional controls. Let's start with scenes. To understand the concept of scenes, let's think of a TV news production. You may have one camera pointing at the anchor with some text scrolling underneath. And then you may have a second camera that is pointing at the anchor and at a guest because the anchor is interviewing that guest. As a third scene, you may have a video or a green screen where they're doing the weather forecast. Each of these camera views is one scene, and you'll be able to smoothly transition between all of them. So let's rename our first scene and make it more relevant to us. We right-click on scene, rename, and then type My Camera. Because guess what? We will put our video camera in there. Now, let's add a second scene. We can go to plus, and let's call it PowerPoint. Because in scene 2, we will be sharing our presentation. Scenes can be sorted by drag and drop, just like this, or by using the little arrows here below. As they are now, scenes are just empty boxes. There is no content in there, and that's why our rectangle here is still fully black. You've been following this tutorial for about 4.5 minutes, and so far it's been very theoretical and hopefully not too boring. If you got to this point, then keep watching because now it's time to move to the fun part. If you stay with me till the end, you'll be able to do this already at your next video call. Sources are the content of OBS, and you can find those in the second tab. Let's see what kind of sources we have. Click on plus, And there are many types, as you can see, but we will only focus on those that are of interest to us. You have audio input and output, a browser where you can indicate a link to OBS and OBS will be opening that page, display capture where you can tell OBS to capture everything that goes on a display, image, if you want to add an image, media source, which can be a video or music that is present as a file on your local C drive, scene, and we will see in a moment how we can do that, text, video capture device, and then window capture. This is similar to display capture, but whereas display capture captures only what's going on a display, window capture captures only what's going on a specific application. We called our first scene My Camera. That's because we want now to include our camera. Let's click on plus and go to video capture device. So video capture device is your camera. Let's give it a name. In my case, it will be external cam. It may be handy to give a specific name in case you have more than one camera. And let's click on OK. By default, OBS is taking the integrated webcam of my laptop. Hello. But what we want to do is use the external cam, which in my case is called EOS Webcam Utility. Here we go. The first thing we can learn with a video source, but the same applies also to images, is that we can move them around by just clicking, left click on it, and drag them where we want. So remember, this black rectangle here will be the output that your audience will be seeing on Zoom as your camera. In this case, they will see a centered image, which is actually smaller than the old camera image. What we can do, we can go to one of the edges here and drag it. Let's see if we go to a horizontal one, we still drag it by keeping the proportions. Let's make this fit. And here we go. Now we have placed the camera shot perfectly into the rectangle. If we right click on a source, we access a long menu. So let's just look at what is of interest to us. Let's start from the bottom with properties. By clicking on properties, you access the same tab that you see when you set up a source for the first time. Second from the bottom is filters. Filters are effects that you can apply to your sources. Let's click on plus and we see that we can apply lots of audio effects to improve our audio. Here at the bottom we have filters that apply to our graphic sources. For example, chroma key for green screen or color correction to improve the quality of the video. Out of the many other options, it's worth noting transform if you want to rotate or flip your video, remove if you want to remove the source or rename it, copy filters if you want to copy the effects of one source and paste them to another one. For now, we don't need all of this, so let's keep our sources without any filter. We also have a second scene that we have called PowerPoint. So let's go to PowerPoint and open up a PowerPoint template. As you see, the sources panel of the second scene PowerPoint is still empty. To add the PowerPoint application, we need to click on plus and go to window capture. So we call it presentation. Click on OK, and here we go. OBS has already taken PowerPoint, but if you want to share a different application, you go to the window list and just choose the open application. It can be any application that's open on your PC. So let's click on OK, and here we are. We have our PowerPoint. To crop, we click on Alt, and then one of the squares, drag and drop. The same we do it on the left, Alt, click and drag and drop. We want to make it fit our window, and here we are. If I go to PowerPoint and move from one slide to the other, just by scrolling down, you see that your slide will be changing. Great, so we're now sharing our PowerPoint presentation. Now let's see an example of including a scene as a source in another scene. What we do, we click on plus, scene. We only have one other scene open, which is my camera. Let's click on it. And now we also have the my camera scene as a source in the PowerPoint scene. So why is that useful? Well, just look at this. We take the corner here and we drag it and we make it smaller. So now we have a scene where we have our video on top of the presentation. That's cool, isn't it? Now the order of the sources is very important. My camera is now on top of presentation, which means that the camera will show on top of the presentation. If we change this, now you see that in spite of the fact that the camera is still in there, presentation is on top. So it will be covering your video. Let's put it back. With this little eye, you can hide or show a source. Let's try my camera. It's gone. And presentation. And we're left just with the camera. The last symbol here is the lock. If you go here and click on the source, you can drag it around. Now, if you're happy with your design and you don't want accidentally to move around your sources, you can lock them. And if I click now, I can't move them. And let's move to the third panel, which is Audio Mixer. By default, OBS opens with desktop audio. This is your system audio. If you're playing any audio on your computer, for example, a song on YouTube, you'll see it appearing here. And then your mic. It will take your default mic, which in my case is the Blue Yeti. As I'm speaking, you see the bar going up and down. As I opened an external cam that also has a mic, that mic is appearing here, but it's currently silent. For the moment, let's not touch the audio settings, but if you're interested, you should watch one of my next tutorials. And let's go now to scene transitions. If I move from my camera to PowerPoint scene, you see that there is a nice smooth fade transition. You can choose the type of transition here. For example, let's click on slide. Here you can choose left, right, up or down. Let's keep it left. And let's try the transition. You can also choose the duration, so how long it takes to move from one slide to the other. And let's now move to the last part of the OBS interface. You have a few buttons here. The first one is Start Streaming, but we don't need to stream, so let's forget about it. Then you have Start Recording. OBS can be a very powerful tool for video recording and produce engaging video content. If you click on Start Recording, then your content here will be recorded as well as your audio input. Recordings will be saved in your default video folder. If you want to know more about recording videos with OBS, watch one of my next tutorials. Studio mode and settings, we don't need to know about them right now. The only thing that we need to know is Start Virtual Camera. Let's start it. A virtual camera is a piece of software that takes the video and graphic content of OBS and makes it available to a video conferencing platform. This software, so to say, makes the computer believe that you have installed an additional camera, so you can use that camera, virtual camera, as an input camera for your video conferencing application. Great, the last thing we need to do is open Zoom and tell Zoom that it should take OBS as an input camera. I've opened the Zoom meeting. Let's start the video. We're not going to select any of our hardware cameras, but instead we will pick OBS Virtual Camera. Start video, and here we are. Your Zoom audience is now watching the scenes that you have built in OBS through your camera. If I go to OBS and switch between scenes, then the same will happen on Zoom. It's great, isn't it? For the time being, for the audio, you can just select your microphone. In one of my next tutorials, we'll learn how to input audio from OBS into Zoom so that we can improve the quality. That's it, you've made it, congratulations! What we've done is pretty simple, but there is a ton of things you can do to further enhance your video conferencing presence. If you're interested, watch my next tutorials. If you like this video, you know what to do. What I'm asking you to do right now is to click on this video here to further improve your video conferencing skills. See you in my next digital tip.